Hello, YouTube. It's your boy, the Passport Bro Wingman, coming at you again with another YouTube video. And the title of this video is called Passport Bros. Y'all have no appeal like the successful foreign men in these other countries, says bitter hater. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to show you this video of this. There's this woman who's been a avid hater of the Passport Bros. She has made several videos in the past trashing us, saying a lot of negative things, discouraging women in other countries and in this country from trying to date passport bros, of which she's not been successful in doing this at all. But here's her attempt at trying to degrade us to other women across seas. And what she does in this video, I'll let you watch it. She pretty much poses a question of what is the appeal of passport bros to these women? Why would they prefer passport bros over their own successful men within their countries? So I'm going to let the video play, and then I'm going to critique her video and her talking points, and I'm going to answer a question, and I'm going to debunk a lot of stuff she's saying, or she even thinks her mind really is in the wrong place, and I'm going to talk about that. So anyway, without further ado, let's get into this.
In every country. However, I have a genuine question for you guys, and this is not to shit on American men, but if you are an educated, financially stable, and successful in your career woman in one of these countries, what is the appeal of marrying an American man? If you don't need his money, you don't want to come to the US, what do American men hold over a man in your own country who's on equal footing or better than you? And I say this because for me, my experience is I know I'm only going to marry an American if I ever get married again, because cultural compatibility is really important for me. So can you guys let me know, what are your reasons for an American man over one?
I speak very little English.
All right, we're going to end it with that. Okay, so here's the thing. First, let me start off about some of the things she said. First off, she said this is not the trash American man, but it is, because most of her videos are on passport bros, and every time she does a passport bro video, it's always trash an American man or saying something negative about American men. So just a side note on that. Other thing she mentioned is, which was very funny, is she said when she gets married, it's definitely going to be, American men. After she just spent this video trashing American men, saying that we don't have much appeal in comparison to some of the other successful men in these countries. Pretty much there's nothing different about us from like other men, that kind of thing. But yet and still, she's going to marry an American man. And then she tries to get around it by saying it's only because of cultural differences. But the thing is, in her previous video, she talked about her background, I believe, is from, I believe is Korea. I believe she's like South Korean, and she was raised by by American couple. She's like, I believe she's like adopted. I might be wrong, but I believe it's something like that. So either way, the thing is, yeah, the main reason why she would marry an American man is, in my personal opinion, is because she knows about the financial situation in some of these countries, especially over like in parts of like Asia and that kind of thing. Obviously, America is like where it's at. Our dollar is very, very strong. And as Dennis Sperling had mentioned, the way the men are going to treat the women in those countries versus the way men treat women here, America pretty much is top of the line for any woman in general. There's so many laws that cater to women here, and I hate to say it, there's so much simping going on in this country. The women, they're never going to get the same type of treatment in another country that they receive here, or especially the level of protection as well. So now that I kind of talked a little bit about her talking points, let me shred through some of the stuff she's saying, and let me put some respect on the name of passport bros and American men in general. So here's a few things. First off, this is where her ignorance comes in. She doesn't know the state, the financial state, nor the conditions of some of these countries. Some of these countries, specifically in some parts of Southeast Asia, not all of them, is not as the infrastructure there is not as built up as it is in the West. And that being said, as far as like businesses and wealth distribution and these governments as well, it's not like it is. It's not like it is in the West. Um, this like in general, there's lots and lots of poverty in these countries in comparison to the United States. So you have that going on. That being said, unemployment is very, very high in these other countries outside of the United States. Not just Southeast Asia, South America, parts of Africa, Eastern Europe. And I don't know what it is with some of these spoiled American like women. They just think that every country has money. Like every country and every other country has the same amount of money as America. So things should be the same when unfortunately, unbeknownst to her and a lot of entitled people, they don't understand that America is like kind of like cream of the crop when it comes to like Western rich countries. We're very spoiled. We're very, very spoiled. And America is almost like a welfare type of country. A lot of these other countries make you fend for yourself. That being that being said, a lot of times, even here in this country, where people complain about being poor and they're in poverty. I'm not saying that. I'm not trying to what's the word make light of the poverty here in the United States because we do have certain pockets here and there where things are pretty bad and rough. But I can assure you, if you ask any person that's ever traveled and they went down to the DR, they went down to Brazil, they've been in Thailand, man, oh man, the poverty there is so much worse that the poverty here would be a piece of cake to some of the people there. I'm gonna put it that way. Literally, when I was in Brazil, I literally saw a person who had a mattress outside my apartment. I mean, not my apartment, the hotel, like literally like down the street. They had a mattress there in the grass. They put up like a little nightstand there. They had all their stuff on it. They had like their covers on them and they had like a little table for like their drink. And literally they did that. They were out there almost every single day. Once when I went to Thailand, they're literally, and I'm not joking about this, there was a guy, he had no legs. He had no legs. He was in front of like this, I think it wasn't like a kind of like a restaurant. It was like a business building. But he was out in the front. He had like a little mat spread out and he was selling like diapers and like, baby items. And he would have like a little tray out there and people would put in there. And the thing about it was he couldn't even really walk. He had to kind of like straddle on his stomach. And a lot of times people were just walking by. They wouldn't even really even patronize him nor put anything in his like in his pen. Um, it was just what I'm just trying to say to you is that she has no idea the conditions in some of these other countries. So when a lot of times when foreigners come there, we actually build up their economy. We even patronize things like their Ubers, patronize their restaurants. We bring lots and lots of business there that they would no otherwise have. So a lot of times when you see foreigners, although the majority of us are not rich, but we're well off, we're comfortable. And the fact that you can take $1,000 plane trip from the U.S. to the Philippines, obviously you got some type of money. You're at least financially comfortable, to be able to do that. And the people there, they're not stupid people. I believe the Philippines has one of the highest literacy rates. These people are not stupid. They see it. They see that. They see the amount of comfort you can provide, the amount of status you can have, and it's not just about status. I'm gonna get into that. So that's just I just want to give you the overall difference. And here's another little. You can actually look this up. Same thing with I talk a lot about this because I go to Colombia a lot. In Colombia, I believe they said about 20% of the people there generate 55% of the income. 55% of the income of the Colombia comes from only 20% of the people, both men and women there. In addition to that, a lot of people there don't have access to social services because people there tend to travel from city to city looking for work and that kind of thing. So they never really pay into like their tax into their to like their tax base. So that way, so in other words, they don't really have access to like like 401k government benefits. And keep in mind, a lot of jobs there, these are not jobs where you're guaranteed money. Most of their economy comes from informal jobs, such as like Uber, like the people on the street selling, food and that kind of thing. That's where a lot of the economy is. And there's not a lot of money in that. And a lot of times people are not necessarily successful. And especially think about what happened during the COVID situation. There wasn't a lot of foreign tourists there. There wasn't a lot of business going on. People was very, very struggling. So when they see, at least if anything else, an American person coming there, one thing, if you notice, most investors, as far as investing their money, like the U.S. Treasury bonds are like very, very important to our financial health here in this country, and it's because they look at the United States as a safe haven. We have not had any really major wars on like our land where we've been attacked, so people look at us as being very stable. So when we come there, they know a lot of times if they give it you, you're gonna have a stable job, you're gonna have steady income coming in, you can definitely take care of a family. Versus a lot of men in their country. Not that there aren't successful men, and not that there aren't certain pockets here and there in some of these countries where there is some type of stability, but it's nowhere on the level as is in the United States or any Western country in general, such as like the UK or Canada. So you have that going on. So that's where some of the appeal is coming from. Now, that's not the only appeal. I just talked about the artificial stuff. Now I'm going to start and get into the stuff of substance. So here's the thing. Once again, first off, because she's talking to a lot of Filipinos, because she mentioned at the beginning that there was attacks between the Filipinos attacking some of the American women, saying a lot of negative stuff about them, saying that they're not educated, that kind of thing. So let's start there, and let's talk about the fact that um, most people in a lot of these countries, they don't really have access to education like that, especially in Brazil. I believe they were saying, especially if you're like an Afro Brazilian, and I have to you have to check me on this, but when I was doing a little research on it, I believe they were saying that there was a large percentage of people who never finished like especially Afro Brazilians that never really finished high school, and a lot of times because of that, they're not going to have access to really really good jobs. And what I'm trying to say is, in a lot of these countries, they don't really have access. Well, some I'm not saying that that does now. Keep this in mind. I'm not saying that it means all the people aren't educated. It means all the people are dumb. That's not the case. People are very very literate. But as far as people going to secondary education, such as like college and that kind of thing, everybody's not necessarily college educated. Educated. Here's the thing: in places like Russia, Ukraine, you have women there that have like PhDs. These are some very, very intelligent women. Some even in the Philippines, you got women who are like doctors, dentists, women in Brazil, lawyers. They have all these professional degrees and that kind of thing. But keep in mind, the economy is not it's not like it is in the United States. So what happens is you have a bunch of women who have all these fancy degrees, but there's no jobs. There's no jobs, which is why a lot of them are trying to get their visa to go to the United States or the West to try to find like work there. But a lot of times, even with a very fancy secondary education degree, finding work is another challenge. So you have a lot of people who are employed, which is why I know plenty of guys, specifically my brother, when he was down in Colombia, he was dating a woman who's like a dentist. Um, what I'm trying to say is the way things are set up there. Here's the other thing: dentists and even doctors there, they don't make nowhere near the amount of money that they make in the United States. From what I heard from, I have a cousin that served in the army. And he went to Afghanistan. He pretty much told me there in Afghanistan, I believe doctors were only making about $5, I think, a month or something like that. Something like that. And I believe in Cuba, it's like a very put it this way, it's not a whole lot. It's not a whole lot. So even when you go down to some of these countries, especially like in South America, even doctors and people with secondary education degrees, they're not making a whole lot. They are successful, but they're not making as near, obviously, as much as they would make if they were in the United States. Um, and let's just say that they are popping like that. Let's say that they are making the kind of money that she's talking about. And put it this way, even that doctor in Afghanistan, even that doctor in Cuba, of course, he's going to get more attention than because if that's what a doctor makes. Imagine what the guy who's just out selling fruit or the guy who's doing Uber. Imagine what he makes in comparison. So even that doctor and those lawyers and stuff, they're still going to be high value men according to the standards of their countries, but nowhere as near as the amount that American can bring when it comes to these countries. For example, in the Philippines, if you make over I believe it's like 14,000. You basically consider rich. Obviously, as you know, even the guy who pretty much works at McDonald's, if he was able to stack his money correctly, maybe he moves up into like a manager position, and he's able to stack his money up correctly, he possibly can go to the Philippines and live very, 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 very well. Obviously, the guy who's at the cash register can't do that. But let's say if there's some type of remote work associated with McDonald's, like maybe you're a guy who does like the schedule or something like that, and you're only making like 30K, you could easily get that job If it's remote, take it overseas. Pretty much be living like a king. Pretty much live like just like the doctors there live. And in many cases, even better. So you have that going on. And here's the other thing, because people will say, well, what about the women there who are very educated, got these degrees? Why would they want to date a guy who just came from McDonald's or something, making like 30K or something like that? But here's the other thing you don't consider, and this is even just in America. Even women in America are not really aware of this. When Fresh and Fit did their podcast and they talked about the fact that in America only 10% of men make over 100K. 10%. And that's of all colors. Of all colors. It's not that many men. Now, if that's in America, imagine in these other countries where the economies are not strong and infrastructure is not built up the same way as it is in America. You're talking about a very, very small, minute percentage of men. And keep in mind that in these other countries, they don't have the laws that America has. In many cases, for example, I believe in Colombia, if you get divorced, it's not the situation where you just come in and you just take half the guy's stuff and you run off. It doesn't work like that. You actually have to work out how you guys are going to navigate as far as like the kids. In other words, what I'm trying to say is it's not set up like it is here in the States where women are incentivized to take men in divorce court and profit off it. In many cases, some of these other countries, I believe it was saying in the DR, if the man makes more than a woman, then the kids automatically go to the father, not the mother like it is in the United States. So what I'm trying to say is it's not as advantageous for a woman in these other countries as it is in the United States. The way that things are set up in the United States, it generally favors the women. It doesn't in these other countries, it's the opposite. It generally favors the men. Keep in mind that a lot of these men, they come from patriarchal backgrounds, and in many cases, the way the man wants things to go, that's the way it goes. And in general, and I say that to say, and you may ask why, but keep this in mind. A lot of some of these governments, these other countries are very corrupt. Very, very corrupt. There's no real rule of law in some countries, especially if you go down certain parts of South America. Gangs run some of the country. In many cases, the police can be paid off. They get paid very little. And ask anybody who's been in South America or some parts of even like Eastern Europe or some parts of Asia, and ask them what happens if someone steals your cell phone. What do the police go and look for it, or what do they tell you? Generally, all they're going to tell you is, did anything happen to you? No. All they're going to say is block the phone. That's literally it. That's all they're going to say. They're not going to search for the person who stole your phone. They're not going to do any of that. If you go down to South America, you get yourself in a situation where you get beat up or something like that, or maybe you get shot at or something like that. Ask them, what do the police do? All they're going to do is come down there. If they can't find the person, they don't see them, they're just going to ask you, are you okay? You want to go to the hospital? That's literally it. In many cases, it's going to be very unlikely that anyone's going to be convicted. You're just going to have to stick with the trauma that you received from that. So that being said, it is very dangerous for a woman to be there by themselves. So that being said, women really, really value the presence of men. Because if anything else, even if we don't have money, we can provide them with protection and covering. And in many cases, there's not that many men of means to go around. You're talking about, like I said, only 20% in Colombia have produce 55% of the income. And keep in mind that most of the people there are making around $300, almost like minimum wage. It is not enough to survive. They have to have a partner to survive. That being said, the men know put it this way, since the men know there, for the most part, women are going to be checking for them, there's not a lot of simping going on. These men are not caping for the women. They're not. They have their pick of the litter. Keep in mind, there's a lot of men there who engage in like violence, gang activity. So you have a percentage of men who will wind up getting locked away, which shortens the pool of men. In addition to that, even the men that are there, a lot of them not really make that much to begin with. And these women need somebody to provide for them for the most part, especially if they have a kid. They're definitely looking for like men. So what I'm trying to say is, keep in mind that a lot of men there, since they're not marrying these women, they don't mind dealing with, better yet, sleeping with single mothers. So you might have a guy who's like entertaining 4 single mothers who look, because again, these women look beautiful. They just, I don't really encourage the dating single mothers, but keep in mind that the men in those countries, because they don't really have that much money. Keep in mind that they're just trying to get off, so they don't care about sleeping with single mothers and that kind of thing. So what I'm trying to say is, you may have a guy there who works like the mango stand, and he might be dating like 4 single mothers, sleeping with like all of them. So Basically what I'm trying to say is the men there are pretty much spoiled with women's attention, women's attention and time, so they don't have to simp. They're not simping, and in fact, I hate to say this, but a lot of times they're not. It's not beneath them to put their hands on a woman if she doesn't act correct. That being said, since men have their pick of the litter a lot of times with the women, regardless of their money, their status, because they're providing protection, if anything else, because like I said, the police are not really looking for you like that. In many cases, even if you go to the police on a guy, there have been cases in which the police have just told the woman to pretty much just go home and deal with their man for the most part. What I'm trying to say is not as many protections there for women, so women really value men who are gentle and can kind of take care of them. It's not just about money. And again, since there's not that many professional men, professional successful men there, a lot of passport bros, a lot of us, a lot of us are professional men. Even some of us are blue collar workers. You know, we have very successful trades, that kind of thing. So when you come there to these countries, there's men of means coming there, and women actually enjoy it because that makes the dating pool for them. Uh, it makes them more refined, and it makes them have a more quality of men to deal with. You know, it's a sexual marketplace. It's an international sexual marketplace. So we add to the pool of men there that they can date. And a lot of these women, like I said, are not coming from very sometimes they'll come from families where it's like a whole family of them, they're living in like one room. And when they meet somebody like you, a passport bro, not only bring a stability, but you're a man of means. And a lot of times, because we're so starved for female attention in the United States, when we come there, we still kind of borderline, I'm not gonna say simpish, but we're very gentle, loving, and we're just, we're just almost so impressed and so what's the word? Yeah, I would say it that way. You're just so impressed by how gentle and loving and nurturing and nurturing a lot of these women are versus the men there. They've had these women since they've been born. It's nothing to them. They're spoiled. A lot of them are spoiled. But when we come there, it's a different thing. It's kind of like when a lot of people travel over the border looking for work, and then they work a job like McDonald's, and we're looking at McDonald's, we kind of like throw a nose up at it. But for somebody who's come from like a country where they're only making like 2 hour, where they're only working for like $7 a day, but then they go to America where they're making $7 an hour, that's a huge change for them. They can definitely appreciate that job. Same thing with the passport bros. We come from a country where we're starved of female attention and affection, and then when we go to these countries where the women can give like the light, when they give us they might even give us the lightest amount of, it might just be, you know they might even go halfway as far as their treatment towards you, but that half amount of affection and attention is far more than we're receiving back in the United States. As I said before, they literally did a study. I think they said men beneath the age of 30, I think like 30% of men had no sex, had no sex within like the last 2 years. And I think now they were saying about men from ages 18 to 30, like 60% of them have not even really been looking for dates. So a lot of us come there starving for just female attention. So when we finally meet a woman there, and she might even just, according to their standards, she might just be half decent, even like, not even up to their like not even up to their beauty standards, but because we've been craving so much attention, when we get there, we really appreciate these women and really take care of them. And women can really feel that. So what I'm trying to say is the appeal really is that we can have appreciation for these women that some of the men in their own countries would never have for them, because they don't have to, because they're spoiled. They have plenty of females checking for them, plenty of female validation and attention, and the women can really pick up on that. Not to mention the artificial stuff, as I mentioned before, in which we can also provide them status and stability. So it's a win-win for them. So of course they want us there. That is the appeal. The appeal overall is there's not enough men of means to go around throughout the world. So when pastor bros come there and with men of means, the women are very, very happy about that, because that gives them more options to date. Because the men can definitely take them for granted. They can take them or leave them. Again, and in many cases, for example, specifically the Philippines, keep in mind that there's no divorce is illegal there. Divorce is illegal there. So the men there have their own Midgal situation there, where they don't want to get married, because if they get married to this woman, there's no more sleeping around with any other women. So they have their this thing there called I think it's scoot and shoot and scoot, and which pretty much in America would be like the pump and dump. So a lot of guys there, because they don't have the means as well to provide for these women, they would rather just do the shoot and scoop type situation in which they just deal with a whole bunch of women, don't even marry them, maybe impregnate a few, but that way they don't have to marry them. They don't have to be locked down to one woman. So a lot of women there are saying, "Hey, I want a husband. I don't want just a boyfriend. I don't want to just be a pump and dump girl. I want some guy. I don't want to be a shoot and scoop girl. I want a real man who really wants to commit to me." And here comes the passport bros looking for a foreign wife, looking for somebody to settle down, and that's why it's the perfect fit. So again, the appeal is we're looking for wives. We're looking for wives. The women there are looking for somebody to be a husband. A lot of men there don't want to be husbands because they're going to be locked down and divorce is illegal. So they're looking for American men. Top of that, too, we can provide stability with men of means. And of course, like there's always the added cake on the icing in that we can always bring them back to the States where now there are actually laws that are supportive of women, such as now when she walks down the street, she can kind of walk down there by herself. She's not going to be scared. She's not going to be worried about being attacked, kidnapped, or any of that kind of stuff. Because there's a lot of rule of law in the United States. Not to say in some countries not like in East Asia, for example. Put it this way, you will feel much safer in Thailand or the Philippines than you would in South America. And it has a lot to do with the way the governments run there. So the governments, and they're very hard on anybody who attacks foreigners, such in the Philippines or Thailand. It's because, once again, we help their GDP when we come there and patronize their businesses, Ubers and restaurant, that kind of thing. So there's a whole lot of appeal that American men can bring. And let me include my UK brothers, my Canadian brothers, my brothers from the West in general. There's a whole lot of appeal we bring to the table for these women. Now, I want to keep this video too long, so I'm going to end it on that. But you guys, tell me what you think in the comments. Please, please, this helps the algorithm. Please hit the thumbs up, hit the notification bell so you can hear more of my content. Subscribe to my channel if you have not. I see some of y'all have been like dipping and dabbing in my videos, but please subscribe to my channel, support me. Until next time, this is your boy, the Passport Bro Wingman, signing off.
Dear Passport Boys, dear Passport Bros, stop calling yourself Passport Boys and Passport Bros. Are you going to the Philippines to look for a Filipina queen or what? So stop calling yourself Passport Boys and Passport Bros. Start calling yourself Passport Kings. That's right, you are a Passport Kings. Now, if you're going to the Philippines to just pack around, pull around, screw around as many women as you want, then call yourself Passport Bros and Passport Boys. Otherwise, if you want to go to the Philippines to look for a Filipina queen and she will treat you like a king, then you better start calling yourself Passport King. Understood? Good.